garden for the birds. There's a couple tips that can probably help you. I've got a waterfall in the backyard. The big birds like that, dove, quail, that kind of stuff. So if you have some running water, they'll really be attracted. The small birds don't like that. They don't hang out because the big birds hang out there. So I had a kestrel going across yesterday. I've had eagles, blue herons. They've all kind of gathered where the pond is. It's not something glorious. It's a small thing, maybe 700 gallons with a recirculating pump, and it works. The front yard, I've got an actual fountain. It's a piece of granite where water just bubbles up and kind of flows over and just recirculates. The water's actually underground. You don't see the actual water basin, but it's kind of decorative. But in the morning, I got that on a timer, so it comes on at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and it shuts off just for efficiencies. The birds will actually be waiting. They know when the timer is going to come on. They'll be waiting in line to get to that. The hummingbirds love that. The smaller birds, the robins, I've literally seen robins line up. I mean, like a herd of them, like a flock, like 20 of them. They'll be waiting in line. They just take turns. They rotate through. It's hilarious to watch. But the smaller bird, robin and smaller, they like the smaller fountains, smaller features, bird baths, that kind of. They feel safer there. And then cover. You need a place for them to feel safe. If you just put, this lantana, which my neighbor is like, he's like Mr. Lantana. His house is wrapped in this plant. It is amazing. And I think he brings the butterflies in, and then they just kind of gander over to my place, and I get to enjoy them too. But you need a place for the birds to feel safe. Mainly, that's a junipers. I've got a big alligator juniper in the back. They all hang out in there. When it's snowing outside, they hang out in there. Spruce, pine. They love evergreens, vines. They love Virginia creeper. It's a native. It just grows wild. They're used to it. They like to roost in it. And so especially your smaller birds, like hummingbirds, they like to be up about this level or higher. You'll see this little tiny nest sitting around, and they'll be out there. They never make a sound. You never hear the chicks, but you do the sparrows, those a little bit next size up. You'll hear them, calling out, going, "Feed me more." And so something else I noticed, if you're just getting started, it's like birds build over time. I think it's something about they know where they came from, so they go south for winter and they come back. And my first year, I set up this whole landscape. I mean, it's a glorious landscape. I mean, you might think I own a garden center or something. It's like over the top. And I went, oh, the birds will come. And they didn't come. The next year, they started to show up. And then like year 3 and on, they're so thick, you can't walk the yard without one of them, buzzing by you. So it builds, and I think it's just family-oriented. They invite friends, or, this is my place, bring salsa and chips, and we'll have a party in the backyard. And it just takes a while for them. So be patient with the wildlife. And then your butterflies are thick right now. How many of you are on Facebook? Okay, half the crowd, maybe a little over half. Follow Waters Garden Center. Just selfless promotion, but that's kind of my personal page, my gardens. You're going to see my gardens. So I was out in the backyard, and a swallowtail, it was this big, the biggest thing I've ever seen. It was on my pentas, which is a little flower. I got so close to him that literally the camera bumped him in the eye. The camera was out of focus. Before I had to back off, he was so focused on getting the nectar from this flower. It's ridiculous. But those if you like gardening info, kind of take a look at it, hit the follow button, and you'll be part of the Waters world at that point, which is all gardening, total gardening, and a lot of it's my gardens. And then lastly, I'll leave you with this: we have so much rock in the yard that sometimes your yard is too sterile to bother with. They don't like rock. They like plants. They like butterflies. Especially the guys like the flycatchers, they like pecking around in the litter underneath. They like looking for worms. They like pecking around and stuff. So if you could, bottom dress your shrubs, or have an underplanting, or add some shredded cedar or something to the rock. Don't go rock right up to your trees. Give them something to attract them in to kind of peck around at. So my entire backyard, which is where the birds, that's the bird gardens, The whole thing is there's no rock. It's all shredded cedar. It's got top dressing, and so the birds really come after, especially quail and that kind of stuff. They love to, just in the morning, you'll just see where they're pecking around and stuff. So some of it's not just about the plants, some of it's about the environment that they're into. I have no feeders. They're all about the plants. I think my neighbors have some feeders, so they bring them in and they come and water at my place. But I've got beautiful plants. I've got a place where they're safe. One that I did plant that's like a magic plant for butterflies and hummingbirds both. Probably the number one. And this is a great one. It's pretty, it's a native, it's drought hardy. But for me in my yards, I planted mimosa or silk tassel tree. It's a bit weedy, a bit messy, but I've got an area where it just doesn't matter. That's where the birds gather. But I've got it planted underneath the deck, so I've got a 1.5 story deck. I'm overlooking the dells. I didn't want a tree to block that view, but I want to attract the birds, bees, and butterflies. And so this tree grows up to about, I don't know, mid-teens, 20 feet, no more. So I'm overlooking the tops of these trees, which have these silk tassel, pink, silky flowers. And every evening, the thing is covered. It's ridiculous. In painted ladies, monarchs, swallowtails, and hummingbirds are just thick. They're just after the nectar on that tree. So some plants attract more than others. And so we've got list resources. In fact, what I'll do, just to get you to kind of come to our Facebook page, I'll put a link to the butterfly and hummingbird list. So you can hit that link and open it up, and it's a PDF file. So if you folks listening or watching online, thank you. It'll be there in an hour. So you can go back and take a look, and it'll be a free, just our handout on how to attract the plants that attract butterflies. That's some things I've done that kind of